Welcome, my name is Fabian, and in the following I'm going to present how you can build performance requirements into the logical design. During the conceptual design phase, we identified certain requirements that are affected by the performance quality. So we have identified requirements that has an impact on the performance characteristic of our solution. And one of those requirements might be that the end user should be able to interact with a virtual desktop, even though he comes over a network that has very changing characteristics, like a high packet loss, like a changing bandwidth. So we need to have a proper end user quality, even though we have those probably bad network characteristics. What is one design decision we make? One design decision is that we utilize the remote protocol PC over IP or Blast Extreme, which are remote protocols that can adapt to the underlying network conditions. That might be, those are remote protocols where we can define certain characteristics over Active Directory group policies to change them in one or another way. So that's one design decision we make here for the performance requirement. Another requirement might be that an administrator should be easily able to identify gaps within the infrastructure, within the virtual machine. He needs to be able to find certain characteristic in the underlying infrastructure. And that's where we can utilize vRealize operations for Horizon to give the administrator the first and second level support a way to utilize dashboards and give the operators access to certain key elements like network protocol used or remote protocol used, drop packets, throughput of the remote protocol, which application utilize how many resources, and things like that. What else do we got? Maybe our environment must support 3D use cases, 3D accelerated workload, because we have identified use cases in the conceptual phase that are heavy CAD workers that need computer-aided design software that heavily utilize GPUs, graphical processor units, within our servers. So we need to make a design decision that we will utilize physical graphic processing units in our data center servers and integrate them into our virtual desktop in either a virtualized way, in either a shared way, or in a dedicated way, where we integrate the dedicated GPU into a virtual desktop, or where we integrate a shared graphics adapter into the virtual desktop, or where we utilize a virtualized GPU, vGPU, into our virtual desktop and therefore offer the best possible performance to the end user. Last but not least, it might be a hard requirement that the lock-on times should be under a certain amount of seconds. So we have a specification how long the lock-on should take, and therefore we need to make design decisions how we can probably achieve this lower lock-on times. For sure, details will be specified later in the physical design when we have much more details about the operating system, about the application, when we create those configuration items. But still, we can already define, okay, we will use app volumes to deliver applications into the virtual desktop. And since we are using app volumes, we want to reduce lock-on times, we say, okay, those app volume app stacks are assigned on a virtual machine base rather than a user base, where after user log-on is detected, the attachment of the app stack takes place. So in The other scenario, the virtual machine boots up, and the app stack is attached as soon as the virtual machine boots up, and that really decreases the lock-on times within our environment. If we want to use vRealize operations for Horizon, we need to know the logical architecture of that. So within vRealize operations, we have typically the operations manager and optionally a remote collector where we install the Horizon adapter. So we install the Horizon adapter that captures all kind of relevant information from our connection server, that captures information from the app volume manager, from our unified access gateway and the event database. And therefore, it utilizes this information, it transforms this information, and gives us a simple to use dashboard to easily identify certain gaps, certain constellations in our environment. How many packets have been lost, how many percent packages have been lost, how high was the latency between the endpoint and our virtual desktops. And this is something we can easily identify with the vRealize Operations Manager. So what do we need? We need the Operations Manager, we need the Horizon adapter that is installed on the Operations Manager or the remote collector. We install the broker agent on one connection server, and we need to have a desktop agent that is part of every virtual desktop in our environment that sends the information to the Horizon agent. If we have a huge environment, and we know that already in the logical design, we probably can already size to use the remote collector where we install the Horizon agent. We typically recommend it from 5,000 users or higher to make use of this remote collector. Other performance characteristics that we probably need to know already in the logical design phase are based on the remote protocol. We're offering typically remote protocol options like PCOIP, like Blast Extreme, and we need to identify in the logical design if we need to change something from the default settings right here. We can change the remote protocol settings for PCOIP and Blast Extreme over group policies. And what we need to figure out is from which locations, what are the network characteristics from the user when they access their data center, their virtual environment. We need to build that up in the physical design. If we have, a remote office with 20 users and we have a 10 megabit network connectivity with 200 milliseconds, we need to integrate it into our logical design. We need to identify early if we have a constraint right here, if we have a risk right here, and then change probably something on the network behavior, change something on the logical design itself, maybe create a pod directly in the remote office if we have a certain amount of user numbers here, or to improve the network condition, or to define upfront that we need to optimize the remote protocol for certain end user physical locations. We can use Active Directory group policies for that, or for sure use Environment Manager, where we can have those condition-based constellation, where we say, okay, a user is coming from a certain IP range, that's where we use a remote protocol characteristic for WAN optimized, where the quality is maybe a little bit weaker, but therefore the user experience is much better over those not so good network connectivity.